So we're going to start now by answering some of the registration questions we received. How will the new system impact persons participating in 1915C Home and Community-Based Services waivers, if at all?
Thank you. Yeah, as we said in the presentation, folks that are currently enrolled in a 1915C waiver, otherwise known as a Home and Community-Based Service waiver, will not be enrolled in OneCare. They will also not receive the mailings that we talked about. They would not be considered for either any passive enrollment. So we don't want to confuse folks that aren't eligible to participate. So you really shouldn't see any effect on folks that are enrolled in home and community-based waivers.
Great. Thank you. Will a consumer who participates in OneCare be allowed to continue to participate in OneCare at the age of 65? And also, in addition, if at the age of 65, can this individual select between a SCO and a OneCare option?
Yes, as we said, you need to be between the age of 21 and 64 in order to initially enroll in the OneCare plan. In other words, when we mail out to these 90,000 folks I talked about, there won't be people in that group over the age of 65. So folks have to be under the age of 65 in order to initially enroll. Once a person is enrolled in a plan and they turn 65 after that, they have continued choices. And when they turn 65, they start to have even more choices. So if they are happy with their OneCare plan, they will not be forced to disenroll because they turn 65. If their plan is working for them, their team is working for them, they want to stay in that plan, they will be able to stay there. We do, when people turn 65, have what we call in Mass Health, I think, an anniversary mailing, where we let folks know some changes in Mass Health for people who turn 65, including the availability of additional care options, including the senior care options. So that will be presented as an additional set of options.
Thank you. We've been getting a lot of questions here from people participating today. The first one received is, who is responsible for the enrollee's assessment? Is it Mass Health, a OneCare provider?
The OneCare plan itself is responsible for completing an assessment for each enrollee within 90 days of enrollment. So each plan will have a process to welcome a new enrollee into the plan, to make sure that enrollee has an identified point of contact. Generally, we think that's what we would call the care coordinator. And we'll start planning with that enrollee around the meetings necessary to complete an assessment, the people who need to be involved in that assessment, and making arrangements to make sure that plan is completed within the first 90 days. So that is the responsibility of the health plan.
Thank you. What parts of Plymouth County are covered?
Okay. I think it's easier for us to tell you what towns are not going to be covered in Plymouth County. So I am telling you the towns that are not covered by Commonwealth Care Alliance. East Wareham, Lakeville, Marion, Mattapoisett, Wareham, and West Wareham are not covered. Other towns in Plymouth will be covered by Commonwealth Care Alliance. Commonwealth Care Alliance will be the only plan in Plymouth.
Thank you. For self-selection members, are they enrolled as of 10/1, October 1st, 2013, or January 1st, 2013? I was confused in the presentation.
Okay, very sorry about the confusion. the opportunity for self-selection will start in October, for the October enrollment. So the first available enrollment date is October 1. So we're going to start to send out letters in September so people can start to choose in September, but if they start to choose, their actual enrollment wouldn't begin until October 1st. Now, once that has started, people can continue to make a choice to enroll. That doesn't stop. There isn't any specific date for that. So their enrollment would actually begin on the first day of the month after they made a decision to choose a plan. What happens in January is the first time we will be doing any type of auto assignments. Any auto assignments we make would never be effective before January 1st. So I think the auto assignments we're talking about now because we want people to know that that's a feature of the program. But at this point in time, at this moment in time, our first job is to give people the information that they would need or to have to start to determine whether or not they want to select a plan.
There's another question from a participant. Who is an authorized representative of the participant? How does one become an authorized representative?
Generally speaking, authorized representatives can come about for a number of ways. They're through a legal process that determines someone to be a guardian of another person. But it also can be that a person decides that they would like someone else to be able to make decisions on their behalf or to receive information on their behalf. And a person can designate to us if there is someone that they want to serve in that position. We already have mechanisms in MassHealth, aside from this program, that allow people to designate others to be an authorized representative for them. For people who have done that, we have a record of that, and those people would also be getting the mailings on behalf of the member if they've been identified to us as authorized reps. But again, it can either happen because a person determines that they want someone to act on their behalf, or a court process results in someone acting on someone else's behalf.
Great. Will potential members be able to see who the providers are for a plan that they would like to choose?
Yes. Each plan will be required to make their provider networks available. Probably the most convenient way, because provider networks are very large, to find that would be on the websites, and what the specific plan's website. Each plan will have a website that will have a place to go and look for providers. So in the enrollment packets, you'll see how the website addresses. There will be customer service at each plan that is required to be able to help a person to call. A person can call in and say, I want to know if this provider's in your plan or that provider's in the plan. The Shine counselors will also know, have access to provider lists. MassHealth customer service will have access to provider lists. Our own OneCare website will not only link to the different specific health plans, so that people can readily find out which providers are in the plan's networks. Now, one of the things I'd like to say about that, though, is networks are evolving very quickly. So every day a new provider might be signing on to a given plan. So if someone's looking for a particular provider, a specific provider that I think is very important for them to maintain, it might be worth a call to the plan so that you're sure that you get the very latest information. The other thing a person can do is talk to that provider and ask them if they're in the plan, and maybe offer some encouragement for them to participate.
Thank you. You mentioned the Shine counselors before. How does an individual get in touch with a Shine counselor? Do they have a 1-800 number?
They do. Their number is 1-800-AGE, AGE-info, INFO, or 1-800-243-4636. You will also find that number on our OneCare website. So we will make that number will our OneCare website is www.mass.gov/masshealth/OneCare, and you'll see that in front of you if you look on your screen right now. So that will have the Shine contact numbers. Also, every mailing that we send out will include the Shine 1-800 numbers and their websites so that everybody knows how to get in touch with them.
Thank you. If someone opts out now, will they eventually have to sign up for a OneCare plan?
No, if someone opts out, that means they don't want to be in OneCare to us until they tell us they changed their mind. So once we get information that a person opts out, we will take them off our list, so to speak. They won't continue to hear from us about it. They won't be considered in our automatic enrollment process until or unless they tell us they can change their mind at any time and tell us they've decided they wanted to consider enrollment. Other than that, opt-out means opt-out, means they don't want to participate.
Thank you. I have another question related to that topic. Can you talk more about who may be auto-assigned to a OneCare plan by MassHealth?
Sure. I think the first thing to know is that we will not enroll auto-assign anyone unless there are at least 2 health plans available in the area they live in. So if you look at the slide presentation, we talked about which counties are covered by which OneCare plan. Anywhere that there is a county that is only covered by one OneCare plan, we will not do any auto assignments. There are, I believe, 5 counties that have at least 2. There are 4 counties that have at least 2 OneCare plans. It is in those 4 counties that we will do auto assignments. So we will do auto assignments only for people who have not made a selection or have not told us they want to opt out. If you told us you wanted to opt out, we are not going to auto assign you. And we will also have a process where the first group of auto assignments that we anticipate being effective in January, we're going to start with a fairly small number, and those will be people who we can identify in our data as being, of relatively speaking, lower acuity than others in the cohort. So we want to start out with folks that don't have extremely high levels of long LTSS needs, or to help us make sure that we have a good, solid process. We're working with the plans also to help identify key provider groups that members are seeing so that we can try to match them up with the plans that have those provider groups in their networks.
Great. And you mentioned before that there's some counties that will not have one-care plans in that area. When do you anticipate those counties may start to participate in one-care?
Well, I think it's a little hard to say right now. We certainly made it possible in our contracts with the 3 plans for them to expand their service area as they feel they're able to, and as they would certainly have to prove to us and the federal government that they have the capacity in the networks to expand. So I don't really know for sure when we'll start to see expansion, but we're hopeful that there's that is something that might happen over the 3 years of this demonstration.
Thank you. Is one-care separate from the Mass Health eligibility determination, which is based on disability? And with that, will the one-care assessment ever be used to determine continued Mass Health eligibility on the basis of a disability?
That's a very interesting question. It is indeed separate. The general Mass Health disability determination process is an eligibility requirement. So it's based on a set of rules established by the Social Security Administration to determine who should be considered disabled for the purposes of benefits. That is a completely different determination than the assessment process that we would see in one-care plans. Assessments are to help decide what types of services a person should get. So they will continue to be separate. On the eligibility side happens first. In other words, one-care is only available to people who have already been determined eligible for Mass Health and have already been determined eligible for Medicare. So the eligibility process is already over for those folks. They are eligible for both. And what one-care is a way to get their services, not a matter of are they eligible. It's a matter of, okay, you're eligible. What delivery system are you going to choose to get the services that are available to you?
Thank you. Because one-care conflicts with the HCBS waivers, and coming from a DDS standpoint, from one of our audience members from DDS, they're encouraged to enroll as many people as possible in the HCBS waiver. If someone does choose to enroll in one-care, does that mean that they can never be enrolled in the HCBS waiver?
Oh, absolutely not. All that would happen is if they got enrolled, they would be disenrolled from one-care. I don't think that there's so much a conflict, I would say. It's just different, different delivery system options. I think one of the things we want to do in Mass Health is to offer as many alternatives as possible. Home and community-based waivers have a very specific focus. They are really focused on providing community-based, generally speaking, non-medical supports to support, functioning in the community. And they are important, and they will always be a very important part of the Mass Health program. one-care, first of all, in order to be eligible for a home community-based waiver, you have to be at a nursing facility level of care. And that there are many people with disabilities who are not at that level of care, but still have significant challenges and require significant support and coordination of their services. So I don't believe that these are programs at odds with each other. I think they really sort of supplement and complement one another. One of the things that is not necessarily available through home and community-based waivers is the interdisciplinary approach across the medical and behavioral health and LTSS. And for people that have significant medical issues, in addition to functional issues, it could be a better choice. So I really think that it's, you know, a matter of individual need and choice.
Okay, great. If a state agency rep is identified as a member of the consumer's care team, what is expected of their role? Strictly informational about what services the consumer is receiving from that state agency, or are they acting as an advocate? What would their role be on the care team?
Yeah, I think this is probably pretty individualized as well. Certainly, where, you know, I would not presume to, you know, sort of define a job function for another state agency. I think what would be important is for state agency service coordinators to certainly be aware, and I would imagine they would want to be aware if a person is enrolled in a OneCare program or not. I think there would most likely be communication, or we would hope to see outreach to you as a state agency support for that person from either the LTSS coordinator or the care coordinator to make sure you are aware if the member, if the enrollee supports that, to make sure you are aware of the additional supports they might be eligible to receive through their OneCare plan. I'm sure that the OneCare team, whether you're an explicit member of it or not, would really benefit from the relationship and information you have about the enrollee. And if the enrollee is willing or interested in you sharing, I think that would certainly be a primary advantage to the care team in helping to put together a comprehensive care plan.
Thank you. Another question is, would out-of-pocket costs for the MassHealth member be at all impacted by enrollment in OneCare? For example, a MassHealth Common Health Premium or the Medicare Part B Premium Assistance?
I think that the short answer to that is there would not be a difference. This would not take away or add to the cost sharing of the programs for the person. To the extent that a person is responsible for a common health premium, that common health premium is not going to the health plan, it goes to MassHealth, and that premium responsibility would continue completely unrelated to whether or not they enrolled in a OneCare plan.
Thank you. How frequently may an enrollee opt in and opt out? Can someone bounce in and out several times a year, or is there a limit?
Yeah, well, we certainly hope there won't be a lot of bouncing in or bouncing out. That would be, you know, very disruptive and to the care of the person, and is really not consistent at all with what enrollment is trying to achieve. However, there isn't any prohibition. There aren't limits. As I mentioned, there is no lockout or lock-in, I should say. So I guess theoretically a person could bounce a bit, but I think that it would be really important to those of us who can offer counsel to a person that is really not going to be a way to get the best effect from this opportunity.
Thank you. What if folks don't want an assessment, or what if they opt in but for various reasons are not available to meet to be assessed within this 90-day time period?
Well, I think that the plan of the care coordinator and the enrollee would really need to work together to understand what's behind that. Is that something, I mean, I'm not really sure about a question if we're talking about a person who would never consent to an assessment. or someone that can't conveniently attend an assessment within the first 90 days. I think there can be flexibility around the second, the latter, but when it comes to the former, a person who does not want to participate in an assessment or a care planning process probably doesn't want to be in OneCare. And I think folks would just have to, work with a person to understand the specifics of what approach, what the issues are with that person, to understand if it's a matter of 90 days not being enough time, and again, there is flexibility there, or whether it's the case that it's really not a care model that the person really prefers to be in. So, again, this is meant to be very individualized.
What impact on the OneCare enrollee's ability to make decisions, if any, occurs if they have a full legal guardian?
I think, the legal guardianship, I think there are a number of different ways for the court to define a guardianship arrangement. And the OneCare plan and the Mass Health Agency would need to act in a way that's consistent with the decision of the court. So if a court determined that a person, that someone else needed to have full legal authority to make decisions on behalf of a person, then that person would have to make the decision about whether there would be a OneCare enrollment or not. But there are various ways that courts determine various degrees of authority. So I think, again, that would really be a person-by-person decision, and it doesn't have so much to do with OneCare, but has to do with what, sort of what the legal requirements are around who is in a position to make decisions on behalf of a given person.
Thank you. If the individual is enrolled in OneCare and then became waiver billable through one of the HCBS waivers, will they be dropped from the OneCare plan?
Yes, they cannot be simultaneously enrolled in both a home and community-based waiver and a OneCare program. So we will have automation in our system. When our system, what should happen is when a person gets enrolled in a home and community-based waiver, there is what we call a waiver flag that goes into our MMIS system. And when our MMIS system sees that waiver flag, it will send an automatic signal to close the enrollment for the OneCare plan. So there cannot be enrollment and payment through both of those vehicles at the same time.
Thanks. What are the differences within the plans? What types of criteria would an enrollee be looking at that they would choose one plan over another plan?
Yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the provider network. I think that is, and when we send out the enrollment guide to folks in September and we provide tips to choosing a plan, that's where we're going to start. That's the first place to look. Is your provider in this plan, or does your provider want to be part of this plan? To make sure, I think the major thing that we would want is that the person is not facing disruption in services by going to OneCare. Now, I also don't think, having said that every single provider a person's seeing has to be in a OneCare plan in order for that to be a good choice. The member has to decide which providers are most important to keep, and I think those are the ones that the person should focus on to make sure that they're, whatever, if they're in a course of treatment or a course of care or have a particular provider that they have worked really hard to engage, to find out if that provider's involved. and can certainly work with the provider to enroll in a plan that you're interested in if that's a possibility. The other thing is that's really important here is that the OneCare plan will be that enrollee's Part D plan as well. So the member might have a separate Part D plan today, or they would under a fee-for-service. They'd have their own Part D enrollment. That part, if they enroll in a OneCare plan, that Part D plan goes away and the OneCare plan becomes the Part D plan for that person. So they're also, if they're on specific medications that there might be some concern about, I think it's a very good idea before, making an enrollment decision to say, hey, because each Part D plan, as you know, has the ability to have its own formulary. To the largest extent, they're all pretty much the same, but there might be some differences around the edges, particularly if a person has a unique type of medication profile. So I think that I would start, the first distinguishing thing would be providers, the next distinguishing thing would be important medications, and then there's a matter of personal style. And in talking to the different plans and having a better understanding of how they will work with you is probably, a good idea.
Great. You said that auto-enrollments will only occur when there are two plans available in a member's county. Will that be based on which plan a member's current physician belongs to, or how else would that occur?
When I say that, I mean if you look at the service areas for the OneCare plans, and there is a slide in the presentation that will tell you which counties are in the service areas. You will see that there are certain counties that there are more than one plan covering. So that's what I meant by more than one plan. It has nothing, that's not individual based. That's based on which counties are being covered by which plans. So there, I think you would see if there are 4 counties that have at least 2 plans that cover them. I will take a shot at listing them. Worcester County, Suffolk County, Hampton, and Hampshire. So those are the 4 counties. People who live in those counties are potentially subject to auto enrollment.
A question now about some of the covered services. Are the dental coverage better under OneCare than the current Mass Health standard coverage?
Yes. Now, we didn't talk about that as much because there are under the latest Mass Health budget, there have been some improvements in adult dental. As you're probably aware, a couple of years ago, we had a real a streamlining, I'll call it, of our adult dental program. Since that time, we've had some incremental, and so that sort of reduced the program to only certain preventive services and certain emergency services, generally speaking. So it didn't cover a large swath of dental services like fillings and dentures and things that you generally associate with dental care. What we have required the OneCare plans to do is to provide full adult dental services to enrollees. So the full adult dental program that you knew of before Mass Health cut back is what these plans are required to provide now. So it will be a distinctly better dental benefit. Now, having said that, the Mass Health standard benefit is also gradually improving from where we started. So this, in this budget year, Mass Health will now be able to cover fillings, for example, that weren't covered last year. So it might be that we get to full restoration and the OneCare in the fee-for-service dental will look the same. Today, as we speak, however, the dental coverage under OneCare is better than the fee-for-service adult dental program in MassHealth.
Thank you. Looks like we have time for one last question. When a member is auto-assigned, how is the assigned plan chosen? How are they matched with a plan?
We are receiving provider information from all the plans so that we know which providers are in their networks. And we are we're doing quite a lot of work to try to match assignments with we would be trying to assign people to plans that include the providers that they already see. And we're especially looking at sort of major primary care provider networks to try, if we know a specific provider network is associated with a given plan, we would probably tend to assign into that plan. I think we still have a couple of months to go before we actually, do auto assignments, but we'll be interested, to look at not just the spread around behavioral health, primary care, but we will also be interested in sort of network development around the long-term supports and behavioral health as well. It's very difficult to account for every single provider in an auto assignment logic, but we will start with trying to match along the lines of major primary care providers.
Thank you. We had a few questions just about where to find more information and if the PowerPoint will be available. So I do want to just point everyone to the website that you can see here on your screen, which is mass.gov/masshealth/OneCare. Looks like we're coming to the end of our time. I do want to let everyone know that this webinar will be repeated in a live format on Friday, September 13th from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. The webinar will include live American Sign Language interpretation. And I really want to thank our presenter, Robin Callahan, for presenting today, and to you, the audience, for your participation in today's webinar. Thank you.